Samuel in Canada, who wants is both Christianity and evolution only based on faith? Is your question? Did you want to clarify that, Samuel?
Yeah. So, I'm here. Do you hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah. So my basic question is, if you don't mind, I would maybe want to define what I'm saying with just like a quick story of where the basis of this. So maybe that'll clarify. I'm sorry.
Sure. Go ahead.
So basically, I was talking with like a pastor friend of mine. I was talking with a pastor friend of mine about why I don't think that Christianity is true, and about why, based on the knowledge that I had at that point, why evolution was probably true. And I didn't do a very good job. And the basic thing that he said was, well, there's just, there's no evidence for either. And so they're both just as likely to be true. So I'm just going to decide, based on faith, which one I'm wanting to believe and which one I won't. And I was just wanting to know, like, is that true? And if not, how would I respond to that?
No, there's more evidence for evolution than there is for gravity.
We could write a book. Me and Jim could write a book about this right now.
So let's start with some terms just before we get into the definition of evolution, so we're all on the same page. So evolution is defined as the change in heritable traits of biological populations over successive generations, or any change in the frequency of alleles within a population from one generation to the next. Yep. Those two definitions basically the same thing, because an allele is one of two or more versions of DNA sequences, a single base or a segment of bases at a given genomic location. An individual inherits two alleles, one from each parent, for any given genomic location where such variation exists. So if the two alleles are the same, the individual is homozygous for that allele. If they're different, they're heterozygous. So basically what they're saying is an allele is an inheritable trait of biological populations. And so that leads us to a super easy definition of evolution. And that is, let's assume for a moment that eye color is an allele in the human genome. We don't have to assume that it is. The basic colors are brown, amber, hazel, green, blue, and gray. Let's assume for the moment that before you were born, the world consists of an exactly equal mix of each eye color, roughly 16% brown, amber, etc. Your parents have two different eye colors, brown and green. You end up with green eyes. Have you changed the frequency of eye color alleles? Yes, you have. That is evolution. So you get into selection pressure and how selection pressure affects the actual selection of eye color or anything else, arm length, number of hairs on the body. All these things are controlled by DNA or genes, and therefore you have all of that. That's all DNA stuff, right? So that's kind of the basis of it, and of it. And we've got, and like I said, I just gave you the proof right there, right? That eye color is controlled by an allele. That frequency changes every time somebody is born. And that is evolution. If you want to get into more technical things, like actual new species, let's keep in mind that our definition of species is imposed on the world. The world does not impose that on us. There have been two new species that I'm aware of. And one of them is the big bird finch. It evolved within 2 generations, making for a very fast evolutionary cycle. These finches are also, amazingly enough, in the Galapagos, the Darwin Islands. This new species came from a cactus finch and a ground finch. Scientists have tested to see if the big bird finch could mate with any of the other 3 species on the island, and they couldn't. So that's probably a new species. Now, when we get into how the definition we use for species doesn't really work for everything, but that seems to do that as well. And then also in 1995, the marbled crayfish is also a new species we have seen evolve. So those are 2 new species. And that doesn't count all the lab work we have done with mayflies and proving that species, you can get new species fairly quickly with mayflies. So that's all of the some of the evidence we have for evolution, but basically everything in biology and basically everything in medicine is in one way or the other directly related to evolution.
So Samuel, response from
Yeah,
you on that, and then then I want to dive into the predicament that was laid in front of you.
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay, good, because I think I actually hung up there for a second. I think I still got what he said. I just want to say that I missed what he said. I get, and I get the part with variation, among generations and whatnot. And I guess, perhaps even like dog breeding and stuff, I guess would be an example of that, except just controlled by people. Am I wrong about that?
Well, that's just, you're talking about artificial selection, but I mean, what we're specifically talking about, so if you're getting, like standard, you're going to see a change in allelic frequencies in a population over time, right? So we have things like the Hardy-Weinberg equation. We can actually see how much evolution is occurring in a given population. All of this isn't you don't even have to touch natural selection to just point out the fact here on what evolution is defined as, and that actually occurs. I mean, we can get into artificial natural selection, you can get into all that, but just that alone it's already a fact that evolution occurs, right? There is allelic frequencies distributed in populations over time. So that's one thing to say, right? We're already way above the faith category. If the person you're talking to is just saying, look, they just decided on believing that, Jesus or whatever over this, they just picked it. It's hard to believe. There's going to be some reason. If you really prodded them, there's a reason that convinces them over one over the other. They don't just play Pokemon and choose, I choose you belief. So I would, hopefully we can get, I think we dropped Samuel, but I will say this for the audience.
Yeah.
It's the problem that I have with that is I'm not convinced that you just arbitrarily kind of picked this idea where, I'm just going to pick this belief over another. You're convinced for a reason. But if you end up just telling me, if you're telling me that that's what you did, then what you're telling me is, yeah, it's just the case that I don't have anything justificatory for the belief. I can't actually justify that belief to be true. And then when you tell me you have an arbitrary assignment, even if I think that's hard to believe, I think there's actually a reason that you have, whether bad or good. Even when you say it to me, I'm just going, okay, so you don't care to justify the belief you have. You've given up on that project. And so if that's what it ends up being, is just, I'm going to give up on the project of truth. I'm not going to sit at the table of truth, but I'm going to sit at the table of arbitrary picking beliefs that I like. I mean, I could just say, well, I think there's an odd number of atoms in the world because I'm an odd guy and I like play on words. So I'm just going to go with an odd number because I like that. I'm going to pick that. And I don't think that that's intellectually honest. I think that would be intellectually dishonest to do.
And Jmike, just to go back to what you're saying about picking beliefs, if you don't accept that as true, what I would like you to do is to convince yourself to believe that the sky is green or purple.
Yeah, precisely. Yeah.
Or polka dot or paisley. Pick something. It doesn't really matter. Try and make yourself believe something that is not
change
true.
Your attitude on this proposition. Go right now.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah. And you'll find that it gets very, very difficult to do that until you have evidence to convince you otherwise. So that's part of the problem with that belief and why evolution is more likely true. When it comes to Christianity, for me, I've looked at all the evidence. I'm currently going through, I don't have enough faith to be an atheist as a book review, which I'll publish at some point on YouTube. I'll do on YouTube at some point, but the arguments are the same. They haven't changed. He does the Kalam. The Kalam doesn't work, doesn't get you to God, first of all. And the claims made to get you to God after the Kalam don't get you there because there's no evidence for them. He goes on to the teleological argument. Well, how do you determine design? That's the question. We can't determine design. We're really, really bad at it. We're so bad at it. We have a term for it. It's called pareidolia. I can't pronounce
I always say it wrong too, but the kind of faces you see in clouds and yeah.
Well, it's not just faces and stuff too, right? There's that set of stairs, so-called stairs, in the Sea of Japan. that people claim were made by giants, and yet geologists look at it and go, no, that's just the way that rock forms, and that rock deforms as well. So just the way the rock erodes looks like stairs. And so we're just really bad at that kind of stuff. So that doesn't work either. The argument for morals doesn't work for me, because I think morals are nothing but an opinion about an action, and nothing more than that. And so anybody, they're not objective. They're just something we think about particular actions.
There's also a consideration too, in the sense that, like, I don't believe in objective morality. It's not my view, but there are atheists that hold the position, and they attempt to argue for it. They're called, like, a lot of them are called moral naturalists,
Yeah.
And so it's the whole moral thing always. Yeah, it's like, it just doesn't even follow. I mean, because you'd have to analyze that position. You can't just like declare that no atheist could do this project. I find that very strange.